Hey gang, so I'm back from IGC and I just wanted to share some of my impressions with y'all. I know that many of you out there are already really familiar with gloving and rave culture in general, but both of these things are things that I wasn't familiar with and involve learning a lot of new things in cultural mores. For those of you who are like me, let me give you an overview. Gloving is a dance art that involves finger dexterity and more specifically putting on light shows for your friends by donning gloves with LED lights in the fingertips. The closest I can describe it is something like an attempt to approximate many of the effects and screensavers or music visualizations that many music players have with your hands and fingers. Glovers sit across from each other and do trades. Essentially, they'll agree to trade off performing light shows for each other. These tend to be really intimate experiences with the glover and the person they're performing for sitting no more than a few inches away from each other. As a poi spinner used to having something of a personal bubble around me as I spin, this was really surprising to me and it took a bit of adjustment. Gloving has been banned at many large EDM events, so glovers have been creating an alternative scene in which they compete at both regional as well as national events. Many form teams, some of which have a regional focus, and have both open competitions available to anyone as well as invitationals in which specific artists are asked to come participate. There's also a kind of sister art called orbiting that involves spinning a disc with LED lights attached to it that is controlled by a pair of strings attached at the disc's center axis with handles to either end of the strings. Like gloving, it's most often performed within a small and intimate space with both performer and audience sitting down very close to each other. I also saw many orbiters take to their feet and get more active depending upon the dynamics of the music that they were performing for. As it turns out, there was quite a lot of crossover between orbiting and two poi one hand with an abundance of Supermans, Fantastic Fours, and one-handed spiral wraps. Like glovers, orbiters also had an open competition. I know competitions are pretty controversial in the flow arts world, but the culture I experienced at IGC was one of deep respect and support. Despite there being the presence of teams at the event, I never felt as though there were deep team rivalries, only pride and support for one's own team. It may be a function of how close glovers operate to each other, but the event felt more like fertile ground for learning, connecting, and collaboration. People frequently traded light shows even in the midst of other people competing. Sharing with each other was clearly the top priority. As a poi spinner, I was welcomed with open arms. Many glovers were excited to give me light shows, and many orbiters were keen on learning one-handed tricks from me. Though I was coming into this world culturally as an outsider, everyone went out of their way to make me feel welcome and appreciated. Even some of the top-level glovers who enjoy unparalleled name recognition in their scene were very humble and down-to-earth as they spoke to me. Thanks especially to Ice Cream Teddy and Blitzen for taking the time to chat with me. I know you both were really busy and I really appreciated it. Overall, I found the gloving and orbiting scene to have a lot in common with the flow arts world, most notably with the relationship performers have with their music and the emphasis their performance style has on improvisation and the spirit of open source sharing. If I have one quibble, it was that in an effort to make it possible to give light shows at any hour of the day, the arena the competition was held in was kept fairly dark, even in the mid-afternoon. It led to a kind of weird displacement of time passing, like tends to happen in casinos. I'm hoping that outside of the competitions, all of you glovers out there are getting some sun. It's good for you. Overall, I found the IGC to be a really fun event with incredibly sweet and welcoming people. A big thanks to all of you who went out of your way to make me feel welcome, point out things I might have missed, and treated me to your excellent hospitality. When it comes to Sister Arts and Flow, fellow poi spinners, we could do a lot worse than these kids. They're lovely. Finally, a huge thank you to Brian Lim and the E-Mazing team for flying me out to be a part of this event and get to see for myself what this part of the gloving world really looks like. I learned a lot and really appreciated your hospitality. Your competition means a lot to the people who came out for it. Keep up the good work. Thanks so much for watching and enjoy the flow. Peace.